Morning. It is Thursday. It is the 2022 version of September the 22nd, and you are back here with me, Sean Butler, and you're also back here with star of the show, my co-pilot Bugsy Malone, as we bring to you episode 51 of Tottenham Walks. How's everybody doing? I hope you're all enjoying another lovely morning in Surrey, wherever you are in the world, whatever time of day or night it is. I hope you are happy and healthy and doing things that you love. If you are new to the channel, and there's a lot of new people that have joined the channel recently, I see a lot of new faces in the comments below, a lot of new names in the comments below, I should say, and I really appreciate that. It's great to see you all. I do try my best to reply to every comment. Well, welcome to the Spurs Talk Show. If you're not new here, and I love you all as well, then welcome back. Regardless of your status, I would love you to do three things for me, guys, if you haven't already, and that would be to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and why not, whilst you're there, tap the notification bell, because on this channel, when it comes to live streams, most of the time we pop up without a schedule, slightly impromptu. And so to be alerted to those things as they happen, the notification bell would be a good aid in that search for Tottenham content as it drops. So I appreciate you all for giving me a few moments of your time, as we like to get opinions off our chest and encourage you guys to enter the debate, enter the conversation. Drop a comment below and let me know if I'm talking rubbish or if I'm making sense, or how you'd like to see it, or how you do see it through your own eyes. All opinions are welcome on this channel. There's never any echo chambers here. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be talking about Antonio Conte. I haven't spoken about it this week yet. I was waiting for the right time to do it. I'm sure you're all aware, Juventus, Antonio Conte's, one of his former clubs, have had a really disappointing start to the season. Allegri, their manager, has managed to win I think only 2 games from 7 in Serie A. Equally disappointing start to the Champions League, and the rumours are starting to circle that his time at Juventus may be coming to an end prematurely and rather soon, and if that happens, then very near the top of the shortlist of potential replacements for him would be Antonio Conte. We're going to get into the specifics, the details, the quotes from certain journalists and things in a second, but before we get into it, guys, I just want to reassure some people that would hear that noise and fear the worst necessarily, presume it's all true, and be very disheartened by the idea that perhaps Antonio Conte won't be with us for very long. Stay there 1 second. Sorry about that. Yeah, so some people will immediately fear the worst. It's understandable. It's bad news, and Antonio Conte is so pivotal to our situation. And look, to add to that, Tancredi Palmieri, I might have butchered the journalist's name. He comes from and works for a team called Sport Today. He has confirmed that official talks have begun between Pavel Nedved and the various Juventus higher-ups and Antonio Conte's party. So if you read that, you feel the worst, right? You think, oh no. I would remind you that the same things were spoken about Conte and PSG in the summer, and that nothing happened there. But on top of that, just recognise the reality that any time any manager at any football club is on shaky ground, the powers that be for that particular club will get together and will put together a list of outcomes and scenarios, and then if one of those scenarios is resulting in the current manager leaving, then they'll need to have a long list and a short list of people that could replace him or her. And it's no surprise that when you're successful, you're going to be on the long list for every club, especially if you've worked there before, and especially if your contract length at your current club is running short and the willingness to sign another one is yet uncertain. So it's no surprise that Antonio Conte would be on Juventus' shortlist. I would like to be able to pour cold water on it by reminding everybody that the Juventus chairman, whose name slips my mind at this second, Bugsy. Oh, okay. That the Juventus chairman fell out with Antonio Conte in pretty nasty circumstances. I think it ended with Conte putting the middle finger up to the chairman at the end of a game. I could be wrong about that, don't quote me, but certainly he did leave the first day into a transfer window, citing the commonly cited rationale when Antonio Conte does leave a club, and that he's fallen out with the owners about their willingness to back him in the way that he sees is necessary. So you could be forgiven for finding it difficult to imagine or envision an overcoming of that dynamic. Two powerful, big personalities wanting to have their own way, it ending acrimoniously and not being resolved, and yet the noise is suggesting that that's not a problem. I think that is a problem. It's not necessarily a problem that's too difficult to overcome, but it's certainly one that we should keep in the back of our minds when we're figuring out how to feel about this. I'll be back in a second. Sorry about that, guys. Dog drama. So that's the first reason why I'd love to be able to pour cold water over that, but you can't, right? Because it doesn't mean anything really. People can fall out and they can get over it. It usually comes down to, new reassurances, and what else do the various parties have that is negotiation strength. And on the one hand, you could say Antonio Conte wants to move back to Italy. I think his family still lives there. He definitely wants to go back there at some point. On the same hand, you could also argue that it's probably going to be, even though Juventus have had a really, really tough start to their season, it's probably easier for Juventus to win medals and competitions, trophies and league titles than it is for Tottenham. I mean, you look at Tottenham right now. We're a team in transition. We're doing very well. We're probably outperforming where we could or should be on a squad status level. But Bugsy, let's go! Bugsy! But you've got Manchester City in front of you, who have gone from a team that was a 9.2 out of 10 last season to probably a 9.6 out of 10 now. It's very difficult to envision any team really being able to overcome them over the duration of a season in the Premier League for now. And every single trophy that Tottenham are entered in have to also consider the fact that Manchester City are in those trophies as well, and that they have world class players in every position twice over. So even the threat of injuries doesn't really hurt them too much. Maybe absent Erling Haaland pulling up, but apart from that, they have people to come in, regardless of the circumstance. So you'd be forgiven for Conte to look at the size of the task ahead at Tottenham and think it might be easier to do it at Juve. Carrying on that same narrative, on the same hand, he hasn't signed a new contract yet. He does have the option. So does Tottenham, Daniel Levy, and he is somebody that has a history of short-termism, short-sightedness, whatever. So it's plausible. Going back to the idea about negotiations, though, and whether or not Conte could figure it out with the Juve chairman, or Pavel Nedved, etc. You could also look at the fact that Conte hasn't shut these rumours down categorically and say, no, I'm part of Tottenham. You see it as a bad thing, or you could see it as a really good thing. And that good thing is that if he was to do that, if he was to come out and say, I'm not going back to Juventus, I'm happy at Tottenham, everything's good. You've got a boss in Daniel Levy. Now, regardless of whether you're Levy in or Levy out, you know he's going to be a difficult guy to work with. You know that whilst he might be a genius of business and a master of creating revenue streams that ultimately have to be found and created in order to supplement the income of the club to be able to pay for the players that Tottenham needs and Conte demands, if we're going to close the gap on Manchester City, all of that to one side, Daniel Levy strikes me as the kind of guy who, if you give an inch, he'll take a mile. And so I think it would be madness for Conte to give up that leverage. Staying silent keeps Daniel Levy on his toes, and probably would, in all likelihood, allude to a second window in January, a window in January that would otherwise be maybe more competitive, more money spent in January in order to satisfy in order to satisfy Antonio Conte than maybe would otherwise have been spent. Because Daniel Levy knows that the second Allegri walks or is fired from Juve, there's a chance that Antonio Conte throws in the towel at Tottenham and wants to leave. Alistair Gold pointed out on his video, I haven't watched the video, but I've read a review, like an article reviewing it, that he said that it would be incredibly unlikely that Antonio Conte would be able to leave Tottenham this season, absent a significant and outrageous compensation fee. Which is fine, right? Which is absolutely fine. But for me, I don't think it's about this season, because I think that the journey, the process that we're on, the project that we're on, is going to require longer than this season. What needs to happen this season is there needs to be some level of backing, some level of contribution to the cause from one side of the party that will lead to Antonio Conte signing a renewal, signing that extension on his contract, that then will be the catalyst for Harry Kane to do the same in the summer or beforehand. Absent any of those things, we could see a situation where Conte doesn't sign, doesn't take up the extension. Maybe Juve pays the compensation fee, he leaves, Harry Kane leaves, or Harry Kane doesn't sign the extension, and then we're forced to look at selling Harry Kane in the summer for fear of losing him for free in the January following. To me, I think what happens right now and in January, I said yesterday, I feel like the 3-4-3 to the 3-5-2, how we implement it is pivotal to the rest of our season. I also think that it's such a pivotal moment for Tottenham Hotspur fans to be aware of. There's so many moving parts that are going on. Harry Kane's future, Antonio Conte's future, Sonny's happiness about whether he was dropped or rested or rotated, whether we move to the 3-4-3 or 3-5-2 from the 3-4-3, and how do we use that as an option, and which version of it do we use as an option to keep other teams guessing. All of these things are happening at the very same time, and Daniel Levy is in charge of the outcomes of several of them, not all of them, but several of them. Because if he gets any of these things wrong, if he throws his toys out of the pram, throws the baby out with the bathwater when it comes to Conte, and demands that Conte show loyalty to Tottenham Hotspur without showing anything back, then Conte's not the sort of guy that's going to be pushed around or bullied. If Conte decides to go, Kane decides to go, and then where are we left? There's only one way to go in replacing those particular employees of Tottenham Hotspur, and it's down. There's no manager available that's as competent as Conte, and there's no striker available that's as good as Harry Kane. So over to you, Daniel Levy. Be delicate, don't screw it up. Recognise that Conte not saying anything overtly about wanting to leave or wanting to stay is not necessarily a sign of his intention to leave or his intention to stay. It's just a negotiating tactic, and I applaud and commend Conte for being smart enough to keep his mouth shut, so that in January Daniel Levy needs to pull out the cash to buy the gaps, to fill the gaps, to buy the players that fill the gaps, and ultimately can be another kick into the reassurance pathway for Conte to say, no, I've got Daniel Levy where I want him. I'm at a club I like. I'm at a club I love. The fans love me. The players are great. We just need a few more bits and pieces here and there and a bit more time, and everything can click. And it would be his greatest achievement to take Tottenham to a team that becomes successful in a variety of different fashions. Would be any manager's greatest achievement. So don't see this as a negative. Don't necessarily see it as a positive, but recognise that there are reasons to be cheerful out of this, and there's certainly reasons to be fearful. But just factor in how pivotal the next 4 months are for Tottenham, from September until February the 1st. Everything that happens between now and then in terms of the results on the pitch, the signings in January, and the negotiations with Conte and likely Harry Kane, all of that stuff, if it goes right, could be the catalyst that projects us to the next level, and if it goes wrong, could set us back on a horrible trajectory that will be difficult to see the light at the end of the tunnel from. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Am I making too much out of it, or is it something worth considering? We're going to discuss it in more detail this evening at 6 p.m. on the Spurs Talk Show. Like, share, and subscribe. And as always, guys, bye-bye.